Welcome to the For Love and Money podcast, the show where business and social purpose meet to inspire a movement for positive change. Here's your host, Carolyn Butler-Madden.
Louisa Mackay is founder and chief lemon peeler of Byroncello, a beautiful Byron Bay locally produced version of the famous Limoncello alcoholic drink from Italy. Now, I started working with Louisa and her husband Adam on uncovering the purpose behind their marketing agency, and along the way, I learned about one of the other hats that Louisa wears as founder of Byroncello. It was so fascinating to hear Louisa talk about the brand and to watch her as well, to see her as she spoke about it, because as much as she clearly cares about the agency, there was a different energy when she spoke about Byroncello. There was a real joy that came out. This episode is a real testament to working in flow, to creating something with love and to feeling joy in the process. Louisa shares the story of how she started Byroncello, and she reveals what seems to be a very personal and also organic approach to creating the brand, making the product, marketing it, and selling it. And she also talks about how she's been offered so much help along the way in unexpected ways. And we also talk about the benefits of building a product in a category you have no experience in, because she had no experience in alcohol at all. The whole story is a wonderful reflection of the tagline for Byroncello. It's a play on when life gives you lemons, you know that expression? But of course, when it comes to Byroncello, it's flipped to when lemons give you life. I hope you enjoy this episode. Louisa, welcome to the For Love and Money podcast. How are you?
I'm good, Carolyn. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited about this chat. I absolutely love Byroncello and what you're doing with it. And I just can't wait for you to share your story with our listeners. So with that, let's get right into it. And the first question is a question about love. Is there a role for it, do you think, in business?
Love. I think so, at least for me. I think being a bit older and wiser, I definitely feel that if I'm not loving what I'm doing, then things just don't seem to flow and everything feels like a struggle. It feels like I'm sort of putting, shit uphill. So I would say definitely for me personally, yeah, I have to love what I'm doing. Absolutely.
And you wear a few hats, don't you? I look at everything you do and I think, how does she do it? What a juggle. But I guess it comes back to you actually loving what you do, right?
Yeah, I also don't have children, Carolyn. But yeah, I do wear a lot of hats and you're spot on. I do enjoy what I do. Mostly, I'd say like nobody enjoys doing their baz, do they? But, I'd say that things like that are a means to an end, and it is so that you can keep doing what you love to do. I haven't always been good at doing things that I love. I think when I was younger, I was doing things because I needed the money or because I wanted to please people, or I thought, this is the right career move or whatever it was, the right thing to put on my CV. But I think as time goes on, I've had a lot of experience in business, well, relative amount. I want to do less and less of the things that don't bring me joy. I'm sort of very aware of how short life is and how short my working career is. And yeah, it's even more important to be passionate about what I'm doing in every facet of my life.
Yeah. And you're right. We all go through different stages, don't we? And there is a stage for everything. Although I think I see the younger generation and I see my daughter and there's this real need now to really care and love what you're doing. But let's I'd love you to share your backstory, Louisa. Tell us a bit about you, who you are, the key moments in your life that you think, are relevant to what you're doing now and what you want to do. Take us on the Louisa journey.
Oh gosh, you poor things. No. Well, my very first job was washing dishes, Carolyn. Oh my God, at the age of
Same.
Really? That's a humbling experience, isn't it? And one that at the time I hated, but I worked for somebody who was ex-military and, you didn't turn up to your shift at midday, you turned up to your shift half an hour before, but I think all of that taught me some really good lessons. And gosh, I've had a couple of businesses in my time, all varying, I'd say mostly SaaS kind of solution things because I'm married to a techie man who's great at all of that stuff.
Beautiful Adam.
Yes, beautiful Adam. And we're a good partnership in that way, in business as well as personal. But yeah, so I've had a good few businesses is probably the short story, and I've learned a damn lot. And I think, I've, that whole saying, oh, fail fast and all of this kind of stuff. I think it's been hard for me to fail because I think I am a perfectionist and, it's nobody likes to fail, nobody likes to fail. But I think looking back, I'm grateful for the experiences of businesses not working. And I'm the kind of person who also loves everyone and wants to give everyone a job. So, I'm very trusting. So I think meeting people who are perhaps lovely people, but not aligned or don't feel like, they're part of my tribe or our tribe has been, training my gut to want to work with the right people. So yeah, I'm very grateful for those lessons. I really, I look at people who are starting businesses for the first time or they have an idea and I think, man, like there's so many, it's hard, it's really hard. Sometimes I think, my God, I've had moments where, damn it, I'd love a job. I'd love a job, like I'd love a 9 to 5 job that
Yeah.
doesn't even have to be seriously well paying, just something that,
Yeah.
fall in sick and just be sick in bed,
Yes.
Anyway, but I'm not
Clearly not in your nature, Louisa.
it's not in my nature. No, no. So I've learned a lot and and I'm not afraid to roll up my sleeves these days and get things done. And that's it, isn't it? I love that saying, to be an overnight success, you need to work 15 years or whatever the saying is.
And so before we get into Byroncello, what are the different hats you're wearing today? Because you've got a few.
I do. Well, my husband and I have a marketing agency, which we've had for, 10 to 12 years, I'd say, together. And it's been through many iterations. We started out working in the aesthetic medical industry, which was a very interesting industry. And now we have more clients now in our marketing that, I don't know, we just enjoy working with them. It's been great to work with you in our business too and learn more about what our purpose is and what our next stage is in that marketing journey. Because I think you can, sit on your laurels a little bit when you've had a business for so long. So that's one hat that I wear. Byroncello is another big hat for me at the moment. And in terms of things that I do kind of in my, side businesses, I'm on the board of the Byron Community Centre, which I adore because I love the community of Byron that I'm in, and I'm grateful that it's given me the life that I have now. We're a big part of it, and I love all the people in it, and I want to support them as much as they've supported me. So that's another big part of my life. I think that's it, Carolyn. Do you think that's it?
I think that starts to give people a picture of who you are and what you're doing. And so let's talk about Byroncello. And I'd love if you could share the story of how it started.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for asking. Well, first of all, I love your lemon coloured shirt. Think I didn't notice that.
Has to, right? I love your product. I love your brand. I love Byroncello. I've been enjoying it immensely as a Byroncello spritzer. And yes, anyway, get into it.
I'm super pleased. I just love hearing what people think of it, honestly. So it gives me joy. Well, it was a pandemic thing. Like everyone was, learning a new exercise or making sourdough or whatever the hell we were doing back then. Seems like a distant memory, doesn't it? And I was making limoncello, and I don't know, I thought, let's Google how to make limoncello. Let's give it a go. And there's lots of farmers around here with excess fruit during that time that weren't selling to restaurants or the markets because all of that was shut down, which was a weird time. So yeah, I really enjoyed the process. I'm somebody who loves learning new things. I think that's probably my one of my powers. And I love I loved learning about alcohol and lemons and all the things that you can learn about. And a friend of mine sort of half jokingly said, knowing all the businesses that I've had and all the things that I've done, you should start a business. And I kind of said, haha, very funny. But I thought, why not? I know nothing about the alcohol industry beyond like what wines I like to drink and, what my favorite cocktail is. Why not learn something new? And I really didn't think that it would get beyond, selling it to a few friends for a bit of a laugh. I really did not. And I have to say, having been in many industries, the alcohol industry, at least so far, is full of really, really, really beautiful people who want to help me, like even other alcohol brands, have given me tips and said, oh, this is what we do. You could do this too. And it's kind of a bit shocking because I think, the Australian tall poppy together with the other industries I've been in haven't been like that. So I just love it. I mean, I could honestly work 7 days a week, 10 hours a day on the business. I adore it. It doesn't feel like hard work. I mean, there are hard things that I do in it. Like, let me tell you, when the first order of like 3,000 lemons rocked up and I had to peel them all, that was
My God.
that was definitely hard.
At home.
I'm not at home at a friend's distillery in the hill. But, like I've got a potato peeler and this is my life for the next week, Things like that were hard, but I don't know. It's been really joyous, and I love all the people that are kind of in the circle that I got to know that I wouldn't have otherwise known. So yeah, now it's a real business, and I've got, I don't know, between 30 and 40 wholesalers, restaurants, bottle shops in New South Wales and Queensland. And yeah, Carolyn, I mean, I'm sort of the ideas for the business and what I can do kind of flow faster than I can keep up. So I think that to me is a good sign of the joy that it brings me to do it. And I love, even when people say, oh, it's a bit too sweet for me, or, oh, I don't like this or that, I actually welcome that, for the first time. I think I'm like, oh, wow, tell me more about that. And maybe I can do a different one sometime, or maybe I can make a different product, or how do you enjoy drinking it? Or, so it's great. I love it. Yeah.
I just love listening to you because joy, love, adore, it all comes out. And every time, to our listeners, every time Louisa talks about Byroncello, she gets this huge smile on her face and she just glows. It is clearly, it fills your cup in so many ways. And what I'm really curious about is, during the pandemic, I made limoncello during the pandemic, right? I never made sourdough, but people did all these things. But you took it one step further. And, that's really interesting, because it's not as if you didn't have enough to do already. But what inspired you? What drove you to put that extra into it, to do that?
Yeah, Carolyn, I think it's something I touched on before, I've always called myself a serial idiot, and now I call myself an entrepreneur because it feels like it fits a little bit better. But I just love learning new things, honestly. And I did actually make sourdough and focaccia and all those things during the pandemic as well. But I don't know. I really, ironically, I'm not a big drinker. So, I was kind of making all this limoncello and giving it to friends to try. And a couple of restaurants, around town was like, oh, here, have this. I've made it. It might be a bit of fun. But yeah, look, honestly, I think it was just for me learning something new. And I'm not a sort of a sciencey person. I never excelled at science or maths at school, but learning about the ABV and how it all, works, how the lemons are infused and, the lemon flavor is infused and the color. It's honestly been really fascinating. And I'm now thinking, oh, should I study, science or some other, something else, because this has been such a fascinating journey for me. But yeah, I would say, honestly, the short answer is I enjoyed it, and it was learning something that I literally knew zero about. Yeah.
And I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you say you're not a big alcohol drinker, but there is something about limoncello. I mean, I always think of it as bringing people together, good times. It's not a drink you drink a lot of, but it's got that summer balmy nights feel to it. And there's a real sort of lift, I don't know. I don't think it's just my associations. It just has this presence, and I don't know. It just feels like good times really comes out in a big way.
Yeah, and I'd say that, I mean, I'm sure I'm generalizing here, but my impression, and considering I've only been a tourist as well, but my impression of Italians and Italy is that it's a very, as opposed to other European countries, is that it's a very happy, they're very happy, and every time I go to Italy, they're like, come in, it's just very, their whole lives center around entertaining, hosting people with food and love. And so I guess that for me is always kind of in the DNA of this business. And also in Byron, now that I can sort of call myself a local, I've found that too, that, Byron locals very much the same. And we have a huge Italian community here. So I don't know if that's, trickled through to, the non-Italians, but I definitely, yeah, I what you're saying resonates, is that it's a joyous kind of it makes you think of like nice long lunches with people that you love, eating nice food, and doesn't it? So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And the brand itself is gorgeous, and we'll get to the marketing in a moment. But so I want to take a deep dive into Byroncello, and I'd love you to share, the making of it. So you started with 3,000 lemons and hand peeling them. So this was back when? Was it 2020?
Well, I didn't start with 3,000 lemons the first time I made it in my kitchen. I made it, with, I don't know, I think somebody gave me a box of lemons, and my husband, I was thinking, oh, just go to, BWS or whatever and get a bottle of vodka. And he said, oh, no, you can actually buy, 98% vodka, Polish vodka online, goodness knows how you can actually do that. But so he bought me a whole bunch of that, and I made it using that, which is really the traditional way of making it. You don't make it with vodka because vodka is actually flavored. So yeah, it was a box of lemons, and over my kitchen sink, peeling lemons and heating the sugar syrup. And look, it's the simplest recipe ever. It's just really a labor of love, peeling the lemons. I think that's why lots of Italians and people make it at home, because it's really easy, honestly. It's not rocket science. It's peeling lemons, macerating them in the alcohol for a period of time, and then kind of watering it down so it's not 100% alcohol with, the sugar water combination. So it is still a strong drink. But yeah, as you say, you have a tiny little bit after dinner, or, as a cocktail. I've got hundreds of cocktails up my sleeve that I break out when people come over for dinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to like limoncello if you come over. Non-negotiable.
So you started Limoncello, was it in 2020?
I guess it was, Carolyn. I haven't thought about
sorry, Byroncello. That was.
Yes. We don't know what limoncello is, do we?
No.
Yeah, I started it, during the pandemic. I mean, Adam and I, during that time, ironically, were quite busy because we had the marketing agency then. And as you may remember, there were a lot of bricks and mortar businesses that were our clients, and they were kind of freaking out thinking, God, how do we reinvent ourselves online, or how do we do e-com? So we were actually extremely busy during that time, which I look back now and I feel very, very, very grateful for, because, financially a lot of people really suffered. So we didn't. I guess at night, when I'd usually be going to Pilates or going for a walk, or, doing the million things that I would do at night, I was kind of twiddling my thumbs, as we all were, thinking, what am I going to do? So that's what I did. And I guess I'm an introverted person. I wasn't one of those people who spent, 5 hours a day on Zoom chats with people. That wasn't really what I wanted to do, actually. And I didn't crave that, whereas my husband very much did. So he was the one organizing all the Zoom parties. So I was quite happy just pottering in my kitchen and yeah, making
Beautiful.
As now Byroncello.
Tell me about the first sale.
Oh my gosh, the first sale, I think I felt shocked. I was like, what do you mean you're buying it? Really? Like, really? You sure? You sure you're not just doing it because, I come to your restaurant? Are you sure? And the first sale was a beautiful restaurant in the hinterland called The Hut, and I think I'd given a sample to one of their waiters there who, loved it. And yeah, they started, in fact, they're one of my biggest customers now to this day. I have a real love for those guys. They're all Italian. Yeah, thinking back then, I thought, gosh, I'm sure just me being me, I was thinking at the time, oh, they're just doing it because they want to support me. And, I go to their restaurant occasionally, so they're trying to kind of repay me for that. That was what was going through my head.
Yeah.
The second sale, then the third sale, then the fourth sale, then the fifth sale, and then people that I, met just randomly, who had nothing to do with me, who tasted it, said, wow, this is really good. Delicious magazine rang me, and I remember her ringing her back and saying, are you sure this isn't a scam? Like, it's a very good scam. I was kind of like, why would Delicious magazine be calling me? So I think up until only recently, and it's been a few years, I've actually been shocked at its success. I really, and yeah, so that's my journey so far.
So we were talking, I went up to Byron and we were doing a workshop for your agency, and we got talking about sales, and I asked you, how do you do sales with Byroncello? Do you remember your answer?
I don't, Carolyn. Remind me.
You said it's not selling. You said, I just have the most wonderful conversations with the most beautiful people.
Yeah, that's true. I feel that. Yeah.
And that really struck me because it was totally, different to the traditional sense of business, which is make a product, sell it. And, you talked about as well. So you're doing really well with Byroncello, aren't you? You've just leased a factory.
Leased my own distillery, yes.
I've
previously been working out of a beautiful friend's distillery in the hinterland. And again, they literally have nothing, I wasn't giving them anything in return. They just said, we'd like to mentor you. And somebody mentored us, and come with us, we'll teach you everything. So I've been, in there learning from them for the past couple of years. Mark and Camille, most beautiful people. So yeah, I've just gone out on my own. Yeah, but you're right, it doesn't feel like selling. And I think I've met one person who I think in retrospect was just having a bad day and didn't have anything nice to say about it. And was like, no, I don't like drinking limoncello. And I honestly just thought, that's cool. That's so cool. You do you. Like, I don't expect to always, the business at the moment is in a place where it's very new. I'm sure that when I'm, got to pay the rent at the distillery and, buy all the equipment and I'm expanding, that will change. But I'd like to still not be doing the hard sales on people. I'd just like it to be a bit more organic and flow and, be putting it in the hands of sort of boutique restaurants and bottle shops who do see that it's a product that they can partner with. So yeah.
It feels, everything you told me about this story feels organic and feels like it's flowed. Even your marketing, tell us about how it's marketed.
Well, having a marketing agency is a big help, let me tell you. In fact, so many little distillers and everything that I meet, marketing is so difficult for them because they're outsourcing it, and it's not cheap. So I feel very grateful that I have them, the guys behind me in my team that help. The beautiful labels were our graphic designer, Greg, who I think are stunningly beautiful. I just love it.
I couldn't agree more. And I absolutely encourage our listeners to go to Instagram and look up Byroncello because it's beautiful. It'll just looking at the imagery will make you feel lighter and more joyful. I guarantee it.
Carolyn, you are my best advocate.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it.
Well, it does kind of, when I talked to Greg originally, I did a little logo up in Canva when I was originally selling it, for goodness sake, And when I was talking to Greg about it, I remember saying, I just really want it to feel like sitting on the beach, looking at the ocean. I want it to be metallic and I want it to be blue and, and so he really, I think, captured that. It's very simple. And graciously, a lot of the bottle shops have said, oh my God, it stands out on the shelf. It really catches the sun and people say, wow, what's that? So yeah, and I'm grateful for. I also have a beautiful girl who works in the business doing all social media. So she does all the social media for me. That part of the puzzle has been, gosh, much simpler for me than it is for other people, I think. So for that, I am so, so, so grateful.
And you told me that you just sent her some bottles. She's off in Europe somewhere. And literally, she just sends you back photos that she's taken of the brand in different places.
Indeed. Yeah, indeed. No, it's great.
Organic, right?
Yeah, no, it's
like you're not briefing her, you're not giving her specs. It's just,
yeah.
And it's so on brand. Like everything I see on your Instagram account is so on brand. It's unbelievable. And there's a theme that's running through this. We've talked about the organic nature of it, but for me, what just really leaps out is flow. This brand, this business seems to flow. And again, when I was up in Byron and we were talking, do you remember what you said? You came out with this quote about growth. Do you remember? Or am I going to have to come to you?
You must think I'm a ditz. I don't.
Okay, I'm going to have to share it. I was hoping you would just, it goes to show how genuine it is, right? Because it just tripped off your tongue, and it's not something that you take out of the drawer and bring out. And you just said to me, it's just so easy to grow when you're in flow.
Yes.
And I mentioned that to someone else, I can't remember who, and I remember it was a she, and she just said, wait, I just need to write that down.
It's so simple, isn't it? It's so simple. The little, part of my kind of lizard brain that sits back there that's, also had the experience of, failed businesses in the past and trying different things and failing them, kind of keeps thinking, oh God, when is this? This is too good to be true. Oh God, here I am, not quite on the mountain, but I can definitely see the mountain, Is it going to change? I really hope not. But yeah, I think kind of with the wisdom of years and businesses behind me, I just, I think because marketing is so data driven and I've sort of trained my brain to look at data rather than, go with your gut and go intuitively. This kind of goes against what I have trained myself over the past 10 or so years. But I do feel like, yeah, it is flowing and it is somewhat intuitive. And that feels good to me. It doesn't feel like hard work thinking that. So anyway, we shall see. Maybe talk to me in a few years. I hope the same is true then.
And I guess it's also, how big do you want to get it? How much do you want to grow? And, is that an organic thing in itself? Is there a natural point where it's like, this is enough? This is what's sustainable, for the business, for everything? Or is it, no, global domination?
Yeah, I have thought about that actually, Caroline. It's interesting you bring that up. For the first time ever, my thinking process has been back the front, whereas usually businesses I start, I think, I've got this great idea, it's amazing, and like, let's do it. And then I kind of just go forward blindly. Whereas this time, I would like to sell the business at some point, whenever that might be. I'm close to 50 now, and I guess...
No way.
Yes, way.
Wow.
I know I don't feel it, but
you don't look at one little bit. Feel those lemons.
Thank you. Sorry. But I do think, well, there will be a time when I'd like to do more of the me things, working in the community, a bit more travel, all that sort of stuff that people want to do. And I am very busy, and I would like to not always be so busy. So yes, I would like to sell the business at some point. And yeah, so I don't know. I'm having some coaching with somebody who's in the alcohol space now about, how do I do that? What does that look like? What are the steps that I need to take I don't want to sacrifice the recipe. I don't want to sacrifice a number of things that are that flow, passionate stuff for the sake of flogging the business in a few years' time. It's not what I want to do, but it is something that how do I grow in a way that, is more manual and I can step out a little bit more or, yeah. So all of these things are actually things that I'm kind of in the weeds with now, just rolling around in my mind.
Enjoying the podcast? If you're looking for more inspiration, head to our website, thecauseeffect.com.au, for more resources on how you can start using your business as a force for good. Or buy the For Love and Money book. Every copy sold allows us to protect 1 square metre of rainforest.
If you could distill the learnings you've had from Byroncello so far into what you would take for any other new business ventures you might get into in the future, are there any key learnings?
Distill, that's a good word. Well, definitely I would do a test, which I did this time around. I did a test at Mark and Camille's distillery first because I really didn't think that it would have legs. So I think that testing was really important, and I didn't print like 10,000 labels or, I just did the bare minimum to get people's feedback and to see if it would sell. So I think testing is a big one, and being agile as well, like not being so wedded to like, oh, I really love this, it's got to be this recipe or it's got to be this look and feel, it's got to be in this bottle. I think being agile, like even now I'm considering changing the bottles because they don't fit in the bar. Some of them don't fit in every bar in a restaurant, and they just want to have them in the bar, so that they can pour, a shot. So that's great, and that's something I've learned recently. Oh my God, how would I have ever known that the bottles don't, or having a different bottle so that it fits in bars. So I think being agile, being open to being agile was a big learning for me in this space at least. And just I've always been a really great question asker. Maybe not great questions always, but I've always been somebody who asks a lot of questions, and I've done that in this business. I've kind of just been a sponge trying to learn from anybody, even if it's not limoncello, even if it's gin or vodka or whiskey, or it's just kind of learning about how other people are in their business and how they do things, which is many and varied, but so interesting. And I kind of hope to take what I can from all those learnings and use some of those in my own business.
It's really interesting as you share that. It makes me think that there's some real value in you knowing nothing about the industry, because then you go in with a totally open mind, no preconceptions. You're there to learn from people who, have been in the industry, have made mistakes, have succeeded. It reminds me of many, many years ago when I was living in London and working in an agency. We had a big client day out, and one of the activities we had was clay pigeon shooting. And we went off in a little group, and I'd never done it before, and they made me go first. And the guy gave me, big heavy gun, and he told me what to do. And I was shaking. It was so. And anyway, pull, clay went, hit it right in the center the first time. And I did it 3 times in a row. And everyone in my group who'd done it before was like, you've done this before. Never, right? And the instructor said, no, do you know what? She's come at this new. She's a woman. She listens. She comes with no preconceptions, and she's simply doing, what I'm telling her to do. And I think there can be real value in not having your own preconceptions on how things should be done, because then you do learn from the experts and you apply that rather than letting your ego.
I think that's very wise. Yeah. How great. And are you a clay pigeon shooter now?
No. I think I did it one other time while I was still in London, but that's it. But yeah, no, it's an interesting experience in just listening and following instructions and, getting it right.
I think if you're not doing things that scare you, then there's no point really. I frequently wake up in the morning and I think, oh God, I've got to do X, Y, Z. And I feel that fear of like, I'm going to fail. This isn't going to work. I put money into it. It's going to go in the bin. I'm going to meet somebody who's going to think I'm a total joke, blah, 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 the mind stuff. And I think if you don't have that kind of little bit of fear, you're not in a position to learn anything, really.
I agree 100%. It's the idea that if you're comfortable, if you stay in your comfort zone, you're never going to grow, So I've learned when I feel that fear or nervousness or discomfort and I'm out of my comfort zone, I try to lean into it rather than run away from it.
But that's a very difficult place to be, isn't it? I've definitely had to build up to that as I've gotten older, I think.
I think age helps. But I think also when you look at, what is the cost of failure? What does it actually look like? And is it life-threatening? Is it going to, haunt me for the rest of my life? Or is it a moment of embarrassment that I'll be able to pick myself up from and dust myself off? And so, yeah, I think that discomfort is something that I am really grateful to have lent into, because for me, it's led me to do things I would have never, ever imagined. And clearly that is true of you as well. Now, I'd love to understand, you're supplying most of the restaurants in Byron at the moment, are you?
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure actually. It'd be interesting to know how many restaurants there are in Byron. A lot, I would say. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm supplying a good few. And actually after my very first test, I turned to Adam and I said, I just want to get in Ray's and water goes, and I can mic drop and I'm going to walk away. And he was like, right. So of course I got in Ray's a long time ago, and we're still so yeah. I think I'm in restaurants that, not every restaurant. I think some restaurants, like, as a general rule, I would say, Asian restaurants, Japanese, they tend to drink yuzu and have yuzu cocktails, and that's great. I think that they should. I think having a limoncello probably wouldn't suit them.
Yeah.
I tend to be more in the sort of modern Australian, Italian restaurants of all, I'm in the local pizza shop, and I'm in, high-end restaurants. So yeah, really, really any kind of restaurant, and bottle shops as well. I mean, I'm not sure that I do want to be in a Dan Murphy's, honestly. I mean, I say that now, but I don't think that's my vibe. I think I'm enjoying being and dealing with the boutique, privately owned bottle shops, and they're also, value what I'm doing and kind of want to work with me rather than, like drive my price down or anything, so that feels good for me right now. But yeah, I think Byron I'm in Byron, so it's easy for me to kind of be here and I know everyone. But yeah, eventually I'll expand to other states, hopefully.
Oh, so I'm in Freshwater. Could there be a Freshicello?
Absolutely. Why not? Freshicello. Is that what we call it?
I don't know. But if a listener wants to buy some Byroncello, how do they go about it? They've got to come to Byron.
They can go to my website. I've just enabled the ability to buy gift packs and all sorts of things on the site. So yeah, they can enjoy it just by going to the website, which is byroncello.com.au.
Fantastic. And you've got some Christmas gift packs.
Greg, our beautiful designer, has done these beautiful gift packs, which kind of embody a bit of a Malfi, bit of Byron Surfer Girl. So I'll let the listener check it out. But yeah, they're really gorgeous. They're definitely good Chrissy presents.
Fantastic. Okay. Louisa, thank you for sharing your story with Byroncello. I love it. It just, your tagline, what is it? When lemons give you life?
Yes, when lemons give you life.
So beautiful, and just encapsulates for me everything that comes out from you and the brand, and from you when you talk about the brand. So I'd love to get you to wrap up the podcast by sharing your dream, Louisa's dream. If you could achieve, something that you would just love to over the next 5 years with what you're trying to do, it could be with Byroncello, it could be just with your life, whatever it is. What might it look like?
Oh, Carolyn, I want to stay healthy and I want to stay happy. I think being in business, having your own business is so, oh man, sometimes it's the worst, as I said before. I won't go over it, but yeah, I think just be as happy as I can be and enjoy every day in the business as much as I can, and all of the processes be them, easy or challenging, to just kind of enjoy them. And yeah, I'd love to grow the business to a point that I'm comfortable with. And I think that means, not global domination, but, something that's just still a boutique brand that, is in more hands around Australia. And yeah, and also work with, I'm sort of looking at kind of hiring people now, and I just want to hire beautiful, nice people. It's, it sounds really simple, doesn't it? But that's what I want to do, just have a business that's joyous and happy. And yeah, I think if I do end up, one day saying goodbye to Byroncello, which would be a happy, sad day, I guess going on to the next thing also giving me joy and working with beautiful people. And, I guess this is my vibe, isn't it?
I love that vibe. I love that vibe. And I love it as an aspiration as well. So, Louisa, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Carolyn, thank you so much for your great questions too. I've learned a lot.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the For Love and Money podcast. If you'd like to take a deeper dive into the purpose movement, visit us at thecauseeffect.com.au. And remember, doing good is good for business. So if you're not doing good, then what are you doing?